What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So the Fed has made some major decisions, which is going to surprise a lot of people. Take a look here. So the Federal Reserve and the Federal Reserve head Jerome Powell, which I'll let you hear from here in a second, holds off on raising interest rates here for the first time in a long time. They've raised interest rates here like over 10 times in a row. So they've paused for now, but says that two more interest rates are likely coming later this year. We're already halfway through this year. So they're pausing for now, but there's likely at least two more interest rates hikes coming here yet again this year. Take a listen here to what Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has to say.
Chair Powell, what's the value in pausing and signaling future hikes versus just hiking now? I mean, not to be flippant, but I don't lose weight just by buying a gym membership. I have to actually go to the gym. 16 of your colleagues put down a higher year-end 23 rate today. A majority of you think you're going to have to go up by 50 basis points this year. So why not just rip off the Band-Aid and raise rates today?
So first, I would say that the question of speed is a separate question from the question from that of level. Okay, so and I think if you look at the SEP, that is our estimate, our individual. It's really accumulation of our individual estimates of how far to go. I mentioned how we got to those numbers. In terms of speed, it's what I said at the beginning, which is speed was very important last year. As we get closer and closer to the destination, and according to the SEP, we're not so far away from the destination in most people's accounting. It's reasonable, it's common sense to go a little slower, just as it was reasonable to go from 75 basis points to 50 to 25 at every meeting. And so the committee thought overall that it was appropriate to moderate the pace, if only slightly. And there are benefits to that. So that gives us more information to make decisions. We may try to make better decisions. I think it allows the economy a little more time to adapt as we make our decisions going forward, and we'll get to see. We don't know the full extent of the consequences of the banking turmoil that we've seen. It would be early to see those, but we don't know what the extent is. We'll have some more time to see that unfold. I mean, it's just the idea that we're trying to get this right, and this is if you think of the two things as separate variables, then I think that the skip. I shouldn't call it a skip. The decision makes sense.
I know you said July is live with only one June employment, with only the June employment and the CPI report for June due to be released before the July meeting. You get the ECI after, you get the senior loan officer survey after, you get some bank earnings at the end of next month. What incremental information will the committee be using to inform their judgment on whether this is in fact a skip or a longer pause?
Well, I think you're adding that to the data that we've seen since the last meeting too. Since we chose to maintain rates at this meeting, it'll really be a 3-month period of data that we can look at. And I think that's a full quarter, and I think you can draw more conclusions from that than you can from any 6-week period. We'll look at those things. We'll also look at the evolving risk picture. We'll look at what's happening in the financial sector. We'll look at all the data, the evolving outlook.
Yeah, so I like the guy's question. Why not just rip off the Band-Aid now? Yeah, as if that hasn't been bad enough for low and middle income Americans, which is the majority of Americans who live and eat and breathe and die in this country, right? Yeah, let's just rip off the Band-Aid and make it hurt even worse by raising interest rates 2 more times this year, with credit card interest rates already at the highest they have ever been in this country. Let's raise interest rates again for credit cards, auto loans, personal loans, mortgage rates, everything. So they're probably, even though they've paused for now, they're probably going to raise interest rates here, what they're predicting, 2 more times this year. So don't hold your breath just quite yet. Yeah. And the European Central Bank actually did raise rates here yet again to their highest in 22 years. Remember, Europe's inflation is actually higher than ours here, actually quite considerably as well. Most of Europe's inflation is much, much higher than here in the U.S. The headline inflation is 6.1%. for most of the region here in Europe. So they raised interest rates here yet again. This actually sent the stock market here for the Dow up over. It was actually at 350 points up last time I looked here. We are officially in bull market territory, being up over 20% for since the lows. So we are officially in bull market territory. We're seeing the feast or famine here of the haves and the have-nots. So hopefully you have some money in an IRA, a 401k, or retirement or something, because it looks like there could be a significant upside from here. We are also seeing oil prices fall as well. Oil prices settled down 4% on jitters ahead of the U.S. Fed meeting. And also Goldman Sachs cuts oil prices forecast by almost 10%, despite what the Saudis, Russia, and OPEC Plus are doing with their massive cuts of multi-millions of barrels over their 3 different cuts here that they've done this year to try to stave off these oil prices falling. Imagine how low oil prices and gas prices would be in the US and Europe and around the world if OPEC Plus didn't cut oil production. I think it's around 3 million barrels per day with this latest 1 million barrel per day plus cut that they have announced that will be going into effect here soon. If they hadn't cut 3 million barrels per day plus to bring oil production off the market, which essentially raises prices. So even though oil is trickling down here, make no mistake, those cuts does bring oil off the market for the world, the global economy, and it does raise prices. So even though we're seeing prices trickle down, those cuts do raise prices. So if they hadn't done that, oil prices would be a lot lower. So we would actually probably see gas at the $2 range or in the $1 range because of just economic conditions. So if they hadn't done that, we would see gas and oil, natural gas prices, diesel significantly lower, significantly lower. So they're doing this to combat the economic conditions that are happening right now. And honestly, the world economy with high inflation pretty much everywhere and almost, I want to say, stagflation, this economic inflation that's staying um, is really hurting the world. So and I get that Americans kind of we're kind of in our own bubble. We kind of just think about us, inflation, us. We don't see the world picture, right? But there's most of the world actually has inflation higher than Americans, and this is why oil is kind of dropping and gas prices are high. The problem here is that people can't afford it. So people are buying less gas, they're buying less, they're traveling less because they don't have the money. This is why 2/3 of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and they're not traveling if they don't need to. They're not taking expensive vacations if they don't have the money. And I mean, if people have the choice, I mean, they're gonna buy food, they're gonna buy necessities, and I mean, just be realistic here. There's not a lot of people across the world that are living um, with excess money. 2/3 of Americans alone, and remember we're the richest country in the world, are living paycheck to paycheck. So and I mean, high oil and gas prices are literally just making it worse on everybody. So that's why we're seeing demand come down, which pushes oil and gas prices down. And of course, you have Russia and the Saudi Arabians and all them, greedy as can be, trying to keep prices high because they don't care about anybody but, putting billions of dollars in their pockets. And oil companies, I mean, as well. I mean, the oil companies I mean, I get it. They're a legitimate business. They're trying to make as much money as they can. But the problem is they're making money off you guys, the consumers, the average everyday people. It's just like the pharmaceutical companies. It's something you need. You have to go to work. You have to go to the store to buy food. You need your prescriptions, or else some people will literally die. It's a dog eat dog world up there. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country and around the world on a daily basis. So if you haven't yet, click subscribe down below. Click the bell icon. It's completely free to do so you won't miss out on any new videos, and I'll keep you up to date here. Also, thanks so much for liking, and please share these videos with anybody that needs to hear this information. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it via text message. And here's some videos that you should watch next. The US dollar has started collapsing. Click here to see why. And Russia just said that there will be a nuclear strike on the US, and you can see it here in this video for yourself. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.